Hello, everyone. This is Kevin Chambers. I'm pastor at the Maple Street Church in Lancaster, Ohio, and this is a preparation video, all that you need to have a Messianic Passover Seder. Now, I need to explain that, and I need to acknowledge that there are there are some Christian leaders even who suggest that we not do Passovers on the main ground of that, I guess, because it would be considered offensive to Jews. However, while we certainly don't want to deliberately offend other people, it is hard for us to control what is offensive to someone else. And so if you do have issues about that, or if you have questions about that, I can only answer them individually based on what the particular concern is. What my experience has been that those who suggest that this might be offensive are often well-meaning Christians who are thinking that it are kind of guessing that it might be offensive, and others who are not clear about what we are trying to do here. See, first of all, this is not a Passover Seder. When we first doing this in an early church, for me, probably about 25 years ago or so, well, then we had persons who said, why would we do that? We're not Jewish, and we're not trying to be Jewish, and we're not trying to show that we can do it better than Jewish people. But what we are about doing is a Messianic Passover. And this is something that we were actually asked to do, and I was invited and encouraged to continue to do and to invite others to do. So let me explain that. Messianic Jews are Jews who believe that Jesus is their promised Messiah. Jesus, or they prefer the Hebrew term, Yeshua. Okay, but it's still Jesus. They have come to accept Christ. And you might scratch your heads a bit about that and say, well, aren't they then Christians? And yes, in a sense, they are Christians. And for many years before there were Messianic Jewish temples or synagogues, well, then there was then Messianic Jews simply went to Christian churches. However, what happened was that they made a discovery, one that had been kind of buried over centuries, when people said, yeah, if you became Christian, then you had to become, then you were Christian and you were no longer Jewish. But they looked and they found out that that's not biblical at all. Jesus is Jewish. His disciples, and the disciples who gathered with him in the upper room, the disciples who started the church, were Jewish. And even after Jesus was crucified and rose from the dead, they did not stop being Jewish. Even after they started the church, they continued to attend the temple ceremonies. They continued to go to synagogues. They continued to celebrate the festivals and the other aspects of being Jewish. So they came to see that because I'm someone who was born and raised Jewish, but because I have received Christ now as my Lord and Savior, that doesn't mean that I have to give up my Jewishness. That doesn't mean that I have to give up on the traditions of my family. So I simply see Christ in those. And a Messianic Passover is different than a regular Passover because it is remembering Christ in the Passover. And in that sense, we can honestly say it's the closest thing that we have to the actual kind of Last Supper that Jesus would have participated in. To their credit, Jews over the centuries have there have been a few little minor modifications in traditions that's inevitable, but they've tried to keep very, very tightly to their old traditions. And so, as I said, we can honestly say that this is very, very close to what Jesus actually celebrated with his disciples, which is all the more reason why we definitely, though I've done it almost every year, and I definitely encourage you to participate as well. Okay, so if you're on board with that, then the first thing I want to say is that we're going to look at three levels. First of all, that you can participate in a very minimum way, or you can go full on with it. Level one would be that you're simply going to watch the video, perhaps watch it in line with your own dinner at home, and you can do that. Now I can tell you that would be fine, and you may well get quite a bit out of it. However, I would encourage everybody to at least go to level 2, which is where you would actually participate in the Seder, and that means that you would actually go out and acquire some items that would also be at your table along with your dinner. And we may have somebody do some shopping for us. If we know people are interested, we can have people help to pick up some of the items. But that's what I'm going to spend the bulk of this video talking about. The level 3 is the full Seder with a traditional kind of dinner. So that's where you not only have the Seder, but you would include a dinner that would be traditionally Jewish, and there's some particular foods for this time that are part of the tradition. Again, not necessary, but we have done it, and again, not that we are trying to be Jewish, because it definitely takes on our own personal flavor, but it becomes part of how we remember this Passover time. So I'll be spending most of the time addressing number 2, and for those of you who are interested in number 3, I do have menus, and I'll allude to that later on too. That will allow you to make this more of a full-on experience. Now, what we will be following through the service is this Messianic Passover Haggadah. It's about 30 pages, and it's all written out. So even my long-windedness can't make this too long. And that's going to be the one there on your left side. There is the service. Now that we've ordered those, we have those at the church that we ordered from MessianicJewish.net. If you are interested, you can order some yourself, or we can order additional ones for people to have the whole program to follow along. When my family and I do it for the video on April 1st, then we will be following along. Now, the preparation guide there on the side, I can get that to anyone who is interested. It's a lot of the stuff that I'm going to talk about here, but it also includes menu items and recipes for the dinner part. So for all levels, even if you're the minimal level, if you want to include it around dinner, well, then I want to let you know that it's approximately 45 minutes that it takes to get through the part that's before dinner, and about 10 minutes for the part that's after dinner. Now that's important to know, because one of the first things that we discovered when we had seen presentations of this, Christ in the Passover presentations and things, and so we saw kind of how to do it. But when we as a church first did it ourselves, well, then the first thing we discovered was that you have to have a way to keep your food warm for about 45 minutes before you eat. That wasn't a problem in the olden days, because the women were in the kitchen preparing it while the men went through that 45 minutes of pre-dinner Seder. But we don't want to do that now. We want everyone to participate. So you need to see about how you're going to keep things warm for about that 45 minutes. And then, as I said, if you're simply going to follow along online with the video, then you eat your dinner, and then you can come back to it for the final 10 minutes after your dinner. But now for the other ones, for the ones who want to go a little further, well, then I want to start off first by saying what your dining room table should look like. And first of all, you would have set up your plates, silverware, and everything as you would for a regular meal. However, know that you will need extra napkins, napkins that could get stained as well, or paper towels. I mean, however you do that, but you'll want to have several extra of those on hand. So that much is pretty much like your usual thing. But here's a few things that are different. We do recommend having a pillow for each seat. Within the Seder itself, you will hear about why we did that. Probably a pillow for the back part of your seat, if you can manage that. You want to have at the table a small bowl for hand washing. I said it can even be, for that matter, even a styrofoam bowl, just a little water in it. You don't have to get your whole hand in it, but at least your fingers. And so, but know that you're going to be putting your hands in it. It's not drinking water. You will have at each plate, you will have an extra cup that will be for juice. You will drink grape juice for 4 times during the Passover. So it doesn't have to be as small as a communion cup. It could be a bit large. It could even be a large cup, but remember that you don't want to put that much grape juice in it, because it's going to be hard to drink 4 full-size cups of grape juice through this time. And understand that some of you may, and if you're traditional Jewish homes, of course, they don't use the fresh grape juice. They use wine, or what I call the spoiled grape juice. Unfortunately, that's that may be, if that's your only option, then so be it. But that's but again, you want to have cups because the juice, the juice of the grape will be prominent in this whole thing. Then you'll have a plate for matzah. A matzah is a kind of cracker, I guess we could say, that that we'll talk about later. Plate that's there to be, again, the bowl the bowl will be out for everybody. This plate will be kind of out common on the table. And then there will be a Seder plate, that is one per table, and we'll go over what is to be on that as well. Okay, now for the supplies that you'll need to pick up, to purchase somewhere, or have someone pick up for you. The first is matzah, and they normally come about 10 in a pack. So one will be enough for most families, unless your family is a bit larger, because you'll want to have 3 that will be kept separate, and then about 1 for every 4 people beyond that. But you may want to have a couple extras because they break, and if you want to keep some intact and so forth. And later on the meal, you're free to eat them. You're free to eat them all after everything is done, of course. Now, where you find them is in the Kroger on East Main here, which is probably one of the smaller places. I didn't check out Memorial Drive. I assume that they may have a larger section, but you do see that there is a Jewish section. It's not where I expected it to be, which was with the ethnic foods. It was between the pickles and the pasta in another aisle. But there you can see that it's a fairly small thing. The matzah is there at the top. There's even grape juice down on the bottom, and then there's macaroons, which are a common Passover cookie. That's Passover dessert. That is right there and there as well. So the matzah, as you can see there, comes in different styles. In fact, there is even a gluten-free one there. And I said, I think there's normally about 10 in a box. So it has very much the look of a large saltine, and it is similar. But it's important to use this, is because there really isn't a good substitute. You can also see that there's matzo meal, which is ground matzah that can be used for a chicken soup and so forth. But another thing that if you do go out and purchase this, you will note that many of them say on the box, not for Passover. And in fact, all of the ones that are in the Jewish section in the East Main Kroger say not for Passover. I don't know if, as it get closer to Passover, which officially starts on March 27th, we don't know if they will. They might have some then. If you were looking for, now for them to be kosher for Passover, for anything to be kosher, is not just a matter of the food that's in it, but it's also how it's prepared. And so that's, while this doesn't meet the strictest standards, that's why it's not considered kosher. As I said, as we get closer, they might have some koshers there. The best place that I'm aware of in the wider area, in the Columbus area, in Whitehall, the Kroger in Whitehall on East Broad Street has a very large Jewish section. They have matzahs. They have all kinds of assortments of everything that would be Passover related. So as someone who would like to check that out, I would encourage you to check that out anyway at some point. But you can get that, but you can get almost everything else, even in the local Kroger and probably other places here in the local area. For us, again, because we're not trying to do someone else's Passover, even these matzos would be adequate for what we're doing. So you want matzah. Again, you want to have grape juice. Figure out how much grape juice you want. If you like grape juice, then you'll probably want to have more than what 4 cups per person would amount to. You can get as much as you want. Be sure that you have enough. And then a prize for a child. This is something that I've for years would always forget. Some kind of candy, toy, or money. There's kind of a hide and seek that the children will actually play with the children, and after dinner when they find something, we give them a prize. As I said, usually I forget about this, and so I bum $1 off of somebody else in the church. But but just something on hand that you'll be have ready to give to a child, and you'll understand that when it happens. Now, horseradish, ground or grated. I guess you could go with creamed horseradish, but they strongly do not recommend it. And I know that some of you say, well, I don't like horseradish. Well, that's actually kind of the point. You're not supposed to like it. And in fact, it's actually supposed to be reminiscent of the pain of slavery. And so for those people who do, like me, who do like it, well, then I guess in some ways that kind of defeats the purpose. But for the rest of us, then horseradish is important. You won't have to eat a lot of it. You will have to eat a little bit of it, but that's part of the process. Parsley, about at least a sprig per person. You will be having that. You'll actually dip it in salt water. So it's again, it's going to be a small amount, but it is a participation in what's going on. Okay, and then there's another piece, what we call charoset. It's actually a sweet mixture and for this you actually have to make it, or again, we have somebody could make it for a few people. These are all the ingredients: walnuts, at least an apple or more, depending on how many people you have. Sugar, honey, and cinnamon, and a little bit of the grape juice that you presumably will already have as well. And then the instructions are fairly simple. Actually, you pare, core, peel, and grate the apple, add everything else, and leave it all in the refrigerator for several hours, allowing it to turn brown. It will turn brown. That's fine, but it's actually supposed to look like a kind of mortar, and so that's the idea. And then we will use that, and many of you will like that. You might even want to make it for yourself sometime. Okay. Now there are some things that will be on the Seder plate that are really just for show. And so I guess in theory, they don't have to be real ones. They could actually be plastic imitations or something like that. But there's a place on the plate for an egg. Traditionally it was a roasted egg, but you could use a hard boiled. And it can be eaten later, but again, it's just there on the one there for the whole family on the plate for show. And horseradish root, this one you may not be able to find it anywhere but at the Kroger in Whitehall. But many people will, since it's just for show, many people will use either an onion or a ginger root in its place. And then the last piece, of lamb shank bone, that will actually be difficult because they might sell lamb shank bones at the Kroger in Whitehall. We found, even when we were going out to get lamb, is that almost all the lamb in the meat markets these days are boneless. So you may have trouble finding a lamb shank bone. If you can get a hold of any other kind of bone, that would probably do, because again, it's just for show. Then for review, this is what should be at your table setting. Your regular dinner settings with plenty of extra napkins, a pillow for each seat, a small bowl of water for hand washing, an extra cup at each place setting for the juice, a plate for the matzah that's shared by everybody, and a Seder plate that will also be shared by everybody. Okay, so that was the table thing, and this is the summary of all of the supplies that you need to acquire. So if you can sort of make this checklist of these 13 items, and some of them you can just scratch off immediately because you may already have them in your home, but as you gather these things, then know that you'll have everything that you need. Matzah, you'll have to purchase that. Grape juice, price, it may be maybe money or something that you have on handy. If you don't have horseradish, you may need to pick that up. Parsley, and then at least a half cup of walnuts, that you can get them ground already, or you can grind them yourself. And then the apple, grape juice, sugar, honey, cinnamon, that's all used for the mixture we call charoset. And then the things for show, the egg, the horseradish root, and the shank bone. Okay. Now, so that's all for level 2 and level 3 persons. Now, level 3 persons will want to go on and actually do a menu that will be a Passover type menu. And here on what you see from the preparation guide here are some sample items. The ones that it may be hard to see there, but the ones that are numbered, that have a number by them, we have recipes for them. And you can see that there's typically brisket or roast chicken as the main meat. One thing that you do not see here is lamb. Now, the reason for that is that the Jewish temple was destroyed in the year 70. That's about 40 years after Christ died and rose again. So after 70, after the temple was destroyed, well then, sort of as a penance or as a remembrance of that, Jews stopped eating lamb at Passover. So traditional Jews do not eat lamb at Passover. You probably won't find it in the Jewish, you won't find that in the Jewish section at Kroger or another place. Now, we have had persons who do lamb, and who are, and they like it and they enjoy it. And Jesus would have used lamb. It would have been the primary meat. They might have had other meats as well, but that would have been the primary meat. And so when we've done it, well then we've had lamb as one, usually lamb and brisket, and usually chicken soup, and so other stuff as well. So we've had those options. So you can keep that in mind. As I said, these are these other things here, as you mentioned, some of those you can pick up, like macaroons. You can actually buy macaroons at the store, or you can make them yourself, or some of these other items. And if you are interested in any of these, let me know, and I can send out the rest. I can send out the recipes by email, for that matter, and get them into your hands. All right. So again, a reminder: this is the summary, the 13 things that you want to pick up for if you're level 2 or level 3, as well as whatever else that you choose to add on to the dinner part. Okay, so now I need to say more specifically about a couple of things. The matzah plate, which is where you would put the matzah that would be shared by your whole table, and you do want to take 3 of the matzahs, or what we call matzot. That would be the actual plural of matzah, and you wrap them together with a napkin or a paper towel as these 3, and you just put them separately on the table. They will play a part in the service, and then on the plate, and then on your matzah plate, then you put 2 or more, however many other matzahs you want to have there. Those would be the ones that would be available for people to eat during the ceremony. So that's what you want to do with the matzahs. And then you have what we call the Seder plate. And this diagram here sort of shows in the very middle of the plate, you put a cup of salt water. It can be a very small cup, could be a styrofoam bowl, for that matter. So just some water, and just add a little salt to it. And then you can see at the top the roasted egg. Again, that's just for show. The parsley will be something that everybody will take a piece of. The lamb shank bone, that's again for show. The walnut and apple, and the apple and nut mixture, what they say there, the haroset, is something that you'll share. The horseradish root is just for show. The bitter herb is the grated horseradish. So those are going to be the things that you'll have on your Seder plate. So again, review. These are the things that should be at your table: your regular dinner settings, your pillows, your water for hand washing, this extra cup for juice, the plate for matzah with the 3 matzahs at the side, and the Seder plate, which would have the salt water in the middle, and the other items all around it. And then finally, again, the summary of the things that you want to go out and shop for. These are if you need to. So use this as a checklist. If you have all of this together, if you have your table set up together with your matzah and Seder plates together, then you will be all ready to participate. It'll be just like I was in the room with you when we share on April 1st our Passover Seder. And I do pray that you will find it as inspiring and as uplifting and as spiritual as I have found it over the years. Thanks be to God, and God bless every one of you. Amen.